Welcome back to the Jeff Crilley Show. Actually, I'm not Jeff Crilley. I'm Jeff Crilley's daughter, Sarah. He's actually taken off to go be the Masters of Ceremony over at the Celebrate Jesus celebration, which is actually at the Suitmobile. They host it for the homeless every year over at the Omni, so they get a free night stay and plenty of Christmas presents, and just so proud of my father to be the Master of Ceremonies during this holiday spirit. But I wanted to introduce both guests who are behind the mic. Two gentlemen here, Heath Oakes and Chad Prather. Welcome to the Jeff Crilley Show, and thank you so much for being my guest on this segment.
It is good to be with you. I'm glad Jeff's gone, actually. I would much rather I don't
know about that last
be
segment
here with
there.
you, Sarah. That got a little risque.
A little bit. And I'm going to have to turn on Facebook Live, Heath, because you're all decked out for the holidays. Tell us what you're wearing. It's a kind of a festive tuxedo jacket. Is that what we got on here?
Yeah, well, I have the whole suit. My wife knows I dress crazy, and so I saw an ad that was this really ridiculous-looking suit, and I was like, that's awesome. So she bought it for me. I don't know if she's trying to get rid of me or what she is, just trying to make me look dumb, but it's great. And I got the whole suit, the tie and all, but I didn't want to bring it all out.
Oh, we love Jenny. She's a great fan of the show and a friend of the show also. And so we had a holiday ugly sweater party, and so I don't know why we didn't go in those ugly tuxedos.
Suits. You gotta get the ugly suits.
I don't know how familiar you are, Sarah, and I'm getting more and more familiar with his wardrobe. But this is the sharpest dressed guy in Dallas, Texas. All of his suits custom. Nobody has any suits like Heath Oakes. And his tailor,
she's awesome.
Custom suit maker. Yeah, he gave my number to her, so she's called a couple of times, and I'm almost intimidated to call her because this is what I dress like right here. I've got this pullover and a baseball cap on, and I don't even know if I can pull that off, get anywhere close to it.
I mean, I think you just need to surprise him one day and just show up and I'm dressed as Heath Oakes.
Don't be scared.
Okay, well, let's get started here. Heath, I know you have a book coming out, and can you give us a little bit of your story? And your book is Ignorance on Fire. I love that title.
Yeah, well, it's funny because a lot of publishers wanted me to change the title. That's why I ended up going with the one I did, because they were going to be all right with the title. But it's Ignorance on Fire, A Journey of Failing Your Way to Success. And Bob Berg, the author of The Go-Giver, actually endorsed my book and endorsed the front cover, which, if you've never read The Go-Giver, it's a fantastic book. And basically what the book does is kind of tell a little bit of my journey along with some of the principles on the early part of my life that really kind of came in to help me fail my way to success. And I had a mentor that she was only one that would hire a 23-year-old with no degree and no education and put me over a whole state of a Fortune 500 company. And the very first meeting, she had also hired another lady that had been with the company 30 years, so who had a lot of experience. And in the meeting, she said she wanted everybody, all the other managers, they had to handle their business because she had ignorance on fire and knowledge on ice to deal with over here. And I was kind of laughing. It was kind of like in high school football. I was always one where coach said, Oaks, you sure got a lot of heart. It's kind of one of those like, they'd look at the athlete and be like, only if you had Oaks' heart. And it's kind of like, how do you take that? You know, I'd rather have heart than the deal. So Ignorance on Fire was the same way to me. I'd go, what? And I'm like, oh, you know what? I'd rather be Ignorance on Fire any day. And because ignorance is not a negative. It's you just are not aware.
Well, and the title's intriguing, and also the sub is a millennial who has failed his way to success. And I know, being a millennial, there's a lot of pressure out there to keep up with what our parents have done and learning the hard way. So give us a few anecdotes from your book about failing your way to success, and what does that mean to you? Yeah,
it's interesting you say that, Sarah, because you and I both had to put up that stigma quite often, and that's one of the things that I wanted to gravitate to is letting you know that obviously not all millennials are the same way, and then also trying to put some good role models for millennials to look up to, that it's not, there's 8 different Heath's success tips in there, and one of them, which really I think speaks the most to the millennials, is life isn't fair, and thank God life is not fair, and embrace the fact that life isn't fair, because a lot of entitlement comes along with the millennial tagline. And so my aspect is life isn't fair, and I'm glad it's not, because all of the bad mistakes I've made in my life, I've gotten second chances, third chances. And if life was fair, I'd never be where I am, because I'd have got what was coming to me when I made my mistakes. However, since life is not fair, I had to work and I could regain and get a second chance. So we're not entitled to anything, and the only thing we're entitled to is failures coming our way and how we're going to overcome the obstacles. And we get a tagline with millennials that we're not willing to overcome obstacles. We kind of think we're owed something. So, that's just one of the success tips in there that I hope millennials really gravitate to and understand that that's the difference.
And I think there is that stigma out there. And I have to say, I mean, our parents did really try to give us everything. And we did, get so much support and help out of the love from our parents to raise us up, right? But also that sense of entitlement that you touched on. I do see that, and that they're almost afraid to fail. Oh. But for you and for me as well, it's just the best thing that could happen to you.
Well, what's funny is I love it when the older generation gripes about millennials, because I go, you raised us. You developed us. I go, I'm a millennial on paper, but when you put all the deals, I'm not, because my dad raised me differently. My dad didn't give me everything. My dad taught me right from wrong. And what's funny is having Chad here is that we were just talking about it, how he gets, because he does a lot of stuff around, almost the same message we both almost kind of preach. He obviously is just much more famous than I am, and more people know him. But we were just talking about it a while ago. What were you talking about, the failing your way to success? You were talking about the video when you post them.
One of the videos that I've put out, and I've put a couple out, about teaching your kids to fail. And a lot of people balk at that title. They don't like the idea of, are you telling your kids that they should go out and fail? That's absolutely not. It's an attention-getting title that basically says your kids are going to fail. The problem is we haven't taught them how to handle that, how to handle disappointment, how to handle rejection. What do you do when you lose a job? What do you do when you lose a family member? What happens when things don't go your way? And a lot of times, my generation, Generation X, and a lot of times baby boomers have not built that into their children, because they did give them everything. They gave them everything from affirmation and security, but they also gave them a lot of material things. And they never wanted to have, that latchkey phenomenon that a lot of my generation went through. We didn't want our kids to have that. So, I've got late millennials. I've got a 19-year-old, and we wanted them to have happiness and success in life, but we also wanted them to have the word no exercised in their life from time to time, and how to handle that. So, I love Heath's title because, failing your way to success and ignorance on fire and those things, it's a genius concept, because now people are saying, what does this guy mean by that? And that's why I said, teach them to fail. And a lot of folks, they're like, oh, how dare you ever suggest that my child is ignorant or that they would ever fail in life. But guess what? We're all ignorant to some degree.
Well, but that's the funny thing, is ignorance is not a negative.
Right.
Because ignorance is you're not aware. It's not stupid. It's not anything where you know better and you choose to make, the opposite deal. I tell them it's kind of that life being fair thing. It's prepared, life, you don't win all the time in life. So why set your kid up to they get a participation trophy for it? I always said, when I have a daughter, I'm going to have a daughter in May. And
congratulations.
And thank you. And I'm excited about it. And I'm excited more so that I go, if she wants to play softball or anything like that, and they don't have leagues where people win and lose, I will create my own league before my child goes into something and get participation ribbons. Because my dad, I got disciplined as a kid when I've won a baseball game and losing a baseball game, because I was bragging too much when I won, and I was pouting when I lost, and I learned 2 life lessons there. How you handle it when you win, how you handle yourself, and when you lose, suck it up. They were better than you. There's no ifs, ands, and buts about it. Work harder next time, and you're going to get it. And those were key. And I think that if I would have got a participation trophy for everything, life could have been very different for me.
You were trying to have a baby.
Absolutely.
Right? How many times did you try to have a baby and failed? And yet it was still a great experience for you. You learned from it.
That's true.
You said, you know what, I want to try this again.
I failed my way to success on that one, too.
I've been failing before you were born.
Yeah, exactly. Perfect.
No, what you're touching on there, though, just to be motivated from failure. So let's unlayer that a little bit. When you failed, did you feel that sense of defeat, or were you motivated by that failure to drive harder?
Well, I know from my perspective, I failed a lot. I've always said, one of my mottos in life is I'm a poor chooser. So I've always said in my prayers, God, you choose for me, because I know that when I choose my direction, it's ultimately going to be the wrong one. I'm 44 years old. My life has been made up of a series of mistakes, a lot of things, and yet I've still had success through all of it. I've hit rock bottom many, many times and been able to climb out of it. And I've got a life philosophy that helps do that. And it is a process that you walk through in failure. I can remember, I know from my career, I called my wife on the phone one day and I said, I'm in the corporate world. I'm very successful. There's no reason for what I'm about to say, but I've got to quit my job And she said, well, I support that. And I said, that's great because I've already quit. And she said, what are you going to do? And I said, I'm just going to go out and make a living being myself.
Wow.
And she said, what's the street value on your personality these days? And I said, it's #worthless. It's not anything. So, but it was a decision that, although logically it didn't make sense, has made all the difference in the world for my life. Because I knew that when I continued on that road of what the world perceives as success in that corporate world, that ultimately that success was leading me to an ultimate failure, and I had to change it.
My guests right now, Heath Oakes and Chad Prather, and we're just about to come up on a break here, and I do want to dive deeper in your story, Chad, because you are a celebrity in the YouTube and Facebook world, and so don't go away because we have so much more to get back to with the Jeff Crilley Show. And Heath Oakes, again, you got to give a shout out, sir, to that tuxedo suit. Where did you get it?
I have no idea. My wife got it for me.
Jenny, you did great. We'll be right back on the Jeff Crilley Show.
More of the Jeff Crilley Show coming up. This is the Jeff Crilley Show on Talk Radio 1190 AM.
Welcome back to the Jeff Crilley Show. So we had such a great first segment with Heath Oakes talking about Ignorance on Fire, his new book, and Chad Prather, who is a student of living life to the fullest. So he'll be mostly on this segment, whether he uses music, comedy, motivational speaking, or a combination of all three. He is famous, YouTube and Facebook famous. Welcome, Chad, and tell us your story, because I'm just thrilled to meet you.
Well, it's good to be with you. And on the last segment, as we were talking about, I was in the corporate world, and I was miserable. I was depressed, and I put a lot of videos out there talking about depression. And a lot of times Christmas time, Christmas Eve, a lot of people are dealing with depression. So,
it can be a lonely time.
Yeah, a lot of things are going on right now, and folks are down. So I've always put out there that I've battled with depression and found ways to beat it, and it's been a successful thing in my life. But a few years ago, I was in the corporate world. I was miserable, and I was at the gym. I wasn't in the gym. Huge difference there. I was sitting in the parking lot making some sales calls, and finally I just said, you know what, I'm done. I'm done with this life. I can't do this anymore. I called my wife on the phone. I said, I'm going to quit my job. And
wow.
She said,
how long ago was this?
This was a couple of years ago. We're working at 3 years ago. And so she said, well, I support that. And I said, that's great, because I've already quit. And she said, well, what are you going to do? And I said, well, I think I'm going to make a living just being myself. And, of course, that proverbial line that I tell everybody, she said, well, what's the street value on your personality? And it was nothing at that point, because I really had no idea what I was going to do. But I did tell her, I said, I believe there's a way to make a living working with social media. She said, you mean like Facebook? And I said, yeah. She said, what are you going to do? I said, well, I think I can put social commentary and humor videos out there, and I think it'll open a lot of doors for me to do what I love to do, and that's communicate with people. And she said, so you're going to give up your retirement and your good salary and your future for videos on Facebook? And I said, that's exactly right. And she said, you couldn't do that at night? So I said I could, but, I'm dedicated to what I'm going to do. So right on the heels of that, a fledgling network came out called Ride TV. It's an equestrian lifestyle network. They reached out to me about doing a show, so I did 3 seasons with them. And I was looking for ways to promote that show because nobody had ever heard of the network, nobody had ever heard of the show. And so I would sit in traffic on 35, going out of my mind, and just for therapy, I would turn the camera phone on and I would start talking to it about funny things that were going on in my life, and people started watching it. Had a production assistant. She said, why don't you put those on YouTube and maybe you make some money off of those? And I said, I don't think anybody's really going to watch them. But one of the first ones I put out there, 1 million people watched the thing in a day.
Wow.
And then, it's one thing to have a viral video. And, my parents who are in their mid-70s, they have no idea what the internet really does. So they don't really know what I do for a living. So my mother called me a number of months ago, and she said, Chad, I'm concerned. I said, why? And she said, because someone came to me at church 2 weeks ago and said, have you heard? Chad's gone viral. And she said, well, Mom, I said, Mom, they're talking about my Facebook and my Twitter. And I didn't realize how vulgar that sounded. Yes. When I said that to a 74-year-old lady who had no idea what social media really is all about.
My son's gone viral.
Yeah. I said, it's my Twitter, Mom. She said, you're 43. You don't need to be touching your Twitter anymore.
And your Twitter went viral.
Yeah, viral. I don't have the nerve to tell her about my Snapchat. Yeah. But so they have no concept of what you do. But it's one thing to go viral one time with a video, but we've managed to do it. I've managed to do it about 150 times now.
Wow. And so tell us let's divulge the layers. So
Yeah.
what are your topics and what is your inspiration? What are you talking about?
Sometimes it's random stuff. What my idea, my pattern has been the old observational humor of somebody like Will Rogers. And a lot of people have called me a modern-day Will Rogers. That's a heck of a moniker. I mean, it's an incredible honor to be called that. I don't see myself as that at all. But I try to take truth and wrap it in humor. And so that way I get a point across, whether it's political or spiritual or mental and emotional. I try to take a discipline and something that I have a conviction about, and I wrap it in humor. It's I'll do about 3 videos that are completely random that are just funny, just random thoughts from my brain on an observational topic, whether it's men who don't pull their pants all the way up and walk around with their pants sagging, or women that...
Well, what's funny, you talk about his topics of how he and I linked up together. Right. Well, we linked up at a charity deal, but I'm sitting there one day because I obviously have a redneck accent, and being in the business world, it always comes off as I'm dumb. Immediately, that's what a redneck accent really kind of puts off to people. And I've always loved that stigma because I just get up on them really easy. That way, if they think that I'm easy to get on. And it's funny because all of a sudden one day, I get tagged by like everybody I know. Oh my God, he's all in this deal. And it's to Chad's video because Chad was in his truck doing a video on his Southern accent. And he was doing a video about how people were judging him on his Southern accent and how they were dumb, da-da-da. So everybody's like, oh, he da-da-da. And so then I was subscribing, watching him, and then we're at a charity event. I'm like, hey, I got to get a picture with you. I mean, everybody's like, I've been like watching all your stuff ever since I was tagged in all of it. So that one was one of the first ones that I had ever seen that you did.
Yeah, we were at American Airlines Center. We were doing a guest spot there after the Dallas police officers had been
Back
shot.
to Troops.
And so the Back to Troops deal in
with Novacek.
Yeah, and so we were at American Airlines Center. Somebody walked up to me and said, Jenny Ann Chondo from Fox 4 would like to meet you, and her husband would like to meet you. And I said, well, I want to meet Jenny Ann Chondo and her husband. So they come walking up, and it was just instant, an instant friendship, and he was telling me that story. But the unapologetically Southern thing, I put that out. That's a perfect example of observational humor, because at the point in time, the South was really going through a lot of heat. People were debating the Confederate flag, and people were talking about racism issues and things like that. And so somebody sent me a message one day, and they said, we don't have to listen to you because we know you're ignorant, and we know you're ignorant because we can hear your Southern accent. Now, my Southern accent, because I'm in the world of communication,
like
well, but here's the deal. I can get there real fast, y'all. I mean, I can get there real fast. But my Southern accent isn't lost. It's just muted. I've tried to do that because I'm in the communication world, and I try not to sound like a complete and total hick, because believe me, where I'm from, in Augusta, Georgia, originally, my grandmother took a visit to Hawaii, which was Hawaii. So she'd walk around talking about, how are you? Well, we're fine, So, that's the way we grew up talking. We didn't think anything about it. The first time I ever heard myself recorded as an adult, I was 19 years old. I gave a 45-minute talk at a church one time, and I listened back to that thing, and I said, I've got to fix this. This is a problem. But so anyway, I did this video called Unapologetically Southern, and of course, Fox News picked up on it, and a lot of things happened, and that was a big viral video, and got a lot of people talking. And that one still kind of comes back to me. I did another video about a $20 bill that has gotten a resurgence. Now, that thing's been viewed, 150, 160 million times.
Wow.
I mean, who's counting? Where basically I take a $20 bill. It's that old Sunday school lesson, and I say, if I give you $20, would you take it? Well, you don't know what this $20 bill's been through. It's been used to buy drugs and use drugs and do all of these things. It's been wadded up. It's been stepped on. And do you still want it? Well, yeah, because it's still worth $20. And so I use that to talk about people's self-worth. You've been through a lot too, but a higher authority's giving you a worth, and so you're worth something regardless of what you've been through in life. So it's those little truth videos that are kind of wrapped in real world, real talk humor that I think people have gravitated towards them, and they're enjoying them. So I get a lot of times people will say, you say the things we're thinking and we're afraid to say. I don't know if that's true or not, but the beauty of it is I don't have a boss.
Yeah.
I don't have a boss. So it's not like I can get fired for saying something on social media. I can say anything I want to say. Now, I choose to do it in a clean way, I hope an encouraging way, but mostly I want to generate conversation about issues that are going on in the world today, and at the same time be able to help people smile or laugh. And it's been a real beautiful thing, because it's opened up tons and tons of doors all across the country and even around the world to do this.
My guest right now, Chad Prather. He is a YouTube and Facebook celebrity. His website is www.watchchad.com. And I want to unveil what's happening for 2017, both of your goals, and maybe to inspire your audience as well.
Well, Heath's got bigger things going on than I do, but we've been excited because in 2016 we did a 35 city tour called the Kings of Cowtown Comedy Tour with myself and Fort Worth legend comedian Cowboy Bill Martin. We did 35 cities. Almost every single one of them sold out or oversold. And so we're going to continue the Kings of Cowtown tour into 2017. We'll kick that back off the end of January, and we're going to get it all across the country. We're hoping to do at least about 50 dates this year. So
wow,
You're
busy.
We're out making people laugh. That's what we hope to do. And then we also have an organization that Cowboy Bill founded 5 years ago called Cowboys Who Care, where we go to children's clinics and hospitals and we put cowboy hats on kids that are battling cancer and other life-threatening illnesses. And to date, we've given away 6,000 cowboy hats across the country. So we do laughs at night and smiles in the daytime, and that's kind of what we enjoy doing. So cowboyswhocare.org, if anyone's interested, that's another opportunity for people to get involved, and that's what we're excited about. That's
huge. And what about you, Heath?
You know, for me, I have a career that I'm in that in the insurance business and things, and have a great team that I'm leading. And I've been 2.5 years on this book, and I really wanted to put the book out just to, if there's anybody that reads it and it helps them on their journey, then I've achieved my goal. And so if you want to go to Ignorance on Fire, you can find me anywhere on Facebook and Twitter and all that, Ignorance on Fire. And I have the book launch date coming out, the book launch night. It'll be in Addison, and probably be February the 2nd, but it'll be all released out on that. And
will there be alcohol at that party?
More than likely, absolutely.
Because if not, I'm bringing some.
Yeah, absolutely. And so everybody can come. Everybody be welcome. We'll have books there, have a little bit of fun, and and have the book out. But I'm hoping that if anybody can pick it up and likes it and it changes something and helps them in the journey, then I've been successful with it. And it's on Amazon. It's on Amazon.com right now for pre-order. Ignorance on Fire, and you can download the Kindle version and all that. And the audio book will be out by February also.
Well, thank you so much, Heath and Chad. And we want to have you back just probably mid-year 2017 to catch up with y'all. And thank you so much for tuning into the Jeff Crilley Show. We'll see you next weekend.
See you guys.